On today's show, we look back at an entire year's worth of shows and pick our top stories, from the launch of the Audi e-tron and that tweet that got Elon Musk into trouble, through to the launch of Elon Musk's personal Tesla Roadster into space, Robert Llewellyn's fantastic Fully Charged Live, and much, much more. Stay there, we'll be having more recaps right next. This is ecoTricity's special ecoTEC roundup show from New Zealand's only carbon zero certified renewable electricity company. We're 100% Kiwi and 50% community owned. Switch today at ecotricity.co.nz. Well, we're halfway through the holidays already. I'm sure some of you have a food coma, and I'm taking the time off at home with family and friends, and I'm probably sitting at a sewing machine making something fun about now. Oh, and I hope none of you have gotten sunburn from spending too much time on the beach. Today's show is a clip show of some of our favourite stories from this year, so sit back, pour yourself a cold one and reminisce with us as we get all nostalgic for 2018.
For the past few months, Mercedes-Benz has been teasing us with its EQ electric concepts and promising us a future where all of its models would be offered with a plug. But as I'm sure you're aware, promises aren't the same as action, especially in the EV world. Luckily, however, its parent company Daimler announced this week that it will begin production of its first EQ-branded car, the EQC SUV, in 2019 at its plant in Bremen, Germany. Following that, its Chinese subsidiary will begin production of the same car in China, and shortly after, EV production will start at 3 more production plants, 2 in Germany and 1 in the US. Given that Daimler is talking about investing €10 billion into the expansion of electric vehicles at the company, that's about a quarter of Tesla's current net worth, I think this is one to watch very carefully. Aside from being known for his balls-to-the-wall disruptive attitudes to the automotive, energy and space industries, Elon Musk is also known for his ability to sell pretty much anything he sets his mind to, and that apparently includes flamethrowers. Because this week, Musk's Boring Company, the one that he's using to dig holes in the ground for super-fast electrified travel, sold a total of 20,000 Boring Company logoed flamethrowers at $500 each. A neat way to earn the Boring Company some much-needed cash and help keep it in the spotlight, the flamethrowers are already getting Musk into trouble in California, where one lawmaker has vowed to introduce laws to block flamethrower sales to the public. They already require a permit, but I've got to agree that flamethrowers really are an unnecessary thing to keep in your garage, right? Still, they are supposedly really fun too, at least according to Elon Musk. Space is big. Really big. You just won't believe how vastly, hugely, mind-bogglingly big it is. But after SpaceX made its first successful launch of the Falcon Heavy rocket this week, there's now an electric car travelling through that vastness. Specifically, Elon Musk's own personal Tesla Roadster. Unless you've been under a rock all week, I'm guessing you already know about the very special electric car payload that sat atop the Falcon Heavy's upper stage as it broke orbital velocity, its stage-run rockets gracefully returning to the Kennedy Space Center for a choreographed landing, and its Stage 2 suffering a less than perfect landing in the Atlantic Ocean. Musk's Roadster, piloted by the mannequin affectionately known as Starman, was launched into space to prove that the Falcon Heavy could be used as a reliable heavy lift for future missions to Mars and beyond. And while the Roadster was intended to be launched on an elliptical orbit of Mars, it turns out that that third burn, designed to send it there, was a little strong, hurling Starman and the Tesla off towards the asteroid belt instead. Safe travels to both, and here's to many, many more SpaceX launches. When a new car launches, it's common for the automaker in question to try and devise some unique and interesting way of celebrating the car's characteristics, style or target market. But perhaps none compares with the crazy publicity stunt that Land Rover Jaguar just carried out to publicise the launch of its Range Rover Sport plug-in hybrid. That's because the firm has just sent a Range Rover Sport P400e up the 999 steps from the Tianmen Mountain Road, also known as the Dragon Road in China, to the top of the Heaven's Gate staircase. It's the first time a car has ever made the journey, and if I'm honest, I have no idea how permission was given for the stunt. But hey, I guess it happened. I've put a link in the description below so you can watch the video, as it's worth a watch just for its craziness.
We often hear of new car companies and startups wanting to take Tesla's crown in the EV marketplace. And this week, we got to see a video of one such vehicle in the form of the Spark Owl, a Japanese supercar which was first unveiled last year in Frankfurt. The Owl is an interesting vehicle. First off, it weighs just 850 kilograms, that's about 1,875 pounds, and its all-wheel drivetrain produces a total peak power of around 320 kilowatts. But here's the really interesting part. Rather than use a lithium-ion battery pack on its own, the Owl uses a bank of supercapacitors too, meaning it can accelerate itself from 0 to 100 kph, that's 0 to 62 miles per hour, in just 1.9 seconds. It's going to enter limited production in the next year or so, but the price isn't something I'm guessing you should ask, if you even have to think about asking the price in order to buy one of the 50 Spark Owls that's going to be made. Just before the end of last year, we covered Kitty Hawk, the electric drone company backed by Google's Larry Page. Its first product, the Kitty Hawk Flyer, was something of a cross between a jet ski and a multi-bladed recreational drone. And to be honest, while it looked fun, it was far from the autonomous air taxi that the company had said it wanted to make. Well, it turns out that that's been in development for the past 8 years. And this week we got to see it for the first time. Called the Korra, the two-seat VTOL electric aircraft promises to revolutionize our cities by offering autonomous personal air travel as easily as you can get a rideshare. Not only that, but Kitty Hawk has announced a partnership with Zephyr Airworks in New Zealand, who aims to work with local regulators to make New Zealand the first place in the world where you'll be able to ride in an autonomous air taxi. This is most certainly a story to keep your eye on, so as always, I'll bring you the latest when I have it. It may have only been a few weeks ago that Jaguar Land Rover unveiled the production version of its 2019 Jaguar I-Pace electric car, but at this week's New York Auto Show, the automaker surprised us with the news that it had been working with Waymo on designing and building a fully autonomous version of the I-Pace SUV. Waymo says it will begin to add the iPace SUV to its fleet of autonomous vehicles in the coming months, with a wider plan of adding more than 20,000 autonomous iPace vehicles to the Waymo fleet by decade's end. Rather than be a replacement for the Level 5 capable Chrysler Pacifica hybrid minivans already on Waymo's fleet, the company says the iPace will add a premium SUV feel to its service for those who want to ride in a car, not a minivan. In the electric vehicle world, we are acutely aware that electric cars are only as clean as the generation method used to produce the electricity that they rely on to operate. And that often leads to the claim that EVs are less clean than diesel cars if all of the electricity used to operate them comes from the burning of coal. Except coal is generally on the decline in the electricity generating world, and in the UK this week, it wasn't even used for 55 hours straight. Yes, that's right. For 55 hours this week, not a single piece of coal was used to produce electricity in the UK. And while some of the power generation mix at the time did come from fossil fuels, more than half of the electricity generated for the UK national grid came from renewable sources of electricity. This record time without coal beats the 40-hour record set late last year and shows that the UK grid is just getting cleaner and cleaner. Well done to my home country. As you may or may not know, the electric vehicle news world is a pretty small one, and in the past, I've worked with quite a few other YouTubers and reporters, both in my time on this channel and also in previous gigs working for other companies. And while we may not always be on screen together, most of us get along pretty well behind the scenes. So when someone else is doing something awesome, well, we try and share. Which is why I'm telling you about Fully Charged Live, the first live exhibition from the lovely team over at Fully Charged YouTube channel. Due to take place on June 9th and 10th at Silverstone in the UK, it'll be well worth going to if you can, and plenty of folks will be there, including, of course, the wonderful Robert Llewellyn and equally fun Johnny Smith. I've been lucky enough to work with them in the past, and I love them both, which is why I'm going to go to the UK and take part 2. I don't have any of the full details of my schedule yet, but if you want to meet the Fully Charged team, other well-known EV vloggers and me as well, you should certainly get yourself a ticket. I know it's a long way from New Zealand, but hey, it'll be summer. You can avoid the snow. The world of electric flight may still be some way from being ready to offer us commercial short haul, but earlier this month, By Aerospace announced that its prototype Sunflyer 2 aircraft had completed its maiden test flight.
showing that single-engined electric flight is just around the corner for everyone. What makes this particular airplane interesting is that it's built specifically as a flight trainer, a lightweight, easy-to-control aircraft that flying schools can use to teach people to fly. With the operating cost of $3 per hour, that's 10 times less to fuel than a conventional piston-engined flight trainer. It will soon be followed to market by a 4-seat version called the Sunflyer 4. Both, by Aerospace says, will be the first FAA-certified US-sponsored all-electric planes that you'll be able to buy. There's no word on pricing yet, but when I have it, I'll share. Unless you were hiding all of last week, you probably know that there was a royal wedding last weekend in the UK between Prince Harry and his American fiancée, Meghan Markle. The happy couple, of course, attracted a lot of attention for the ceremony themselves, but the actual part of the ceremony which caught my eye was, of course, the car they chose to head off in their honeymoon in, a 1968 Jaguar EType converted to electricity by Jaguar Land Rover. The vehicle, which you may have seen before, is only a prototype, but it was a nice gesture that showcases how the newlyweds hopefully aim to lead by example when it comes to cleaner transportation. Oh, and thank you to the lovely Robert Llewellyn, Johnny Smith, and the rest of the Fully Charged team for letting me use some of their footage for this fun ride in covering this story. Don't forget, Fully Charged Live, held at Silverstone Racecourse in England, is just 2 weeks away, and if you want to see them and me, I'm going, I've left a link in the show notes. Nissan is facing a potential investigation from the Advertising Standards Authority over the way it advertised the rapid charging time of its next generation 2018 Leaf EV. As I'm sure some of you will know, this new generation Leaf hit the headlines earlier this year when owners discovered that its onboard battery management system throttles down rapid charging power once the battery pack reaches above a certain temperature, resulting in rapid charging times not of half an hour or 40 minutes, but as much as 3 hours. While Nissan does mention that the car's system lowers the battery charging power to preserve the pack in its manual, it doesn't mention that this lowering happens just after one rapid charge, meaning a long-distance trip is all but impractical unless you understand how to keep the pack cool. This one is likely to go on for some time, so of course, I'll keep you posted of any updates as they happen. The nonchalant announcement from Tesla CEO Elon Musk on Twitter this week that said he was considering making the company private at a price of $420 per share. Stating that he had funding at that price, Musk's tweet started a chain reaction that resulted in a temporary halt to Tesla trading, as well as a jump in share price that put Tesla stock close to $390 each. In a letter to employees, Musk said that he wished Tesla to go private to enable the company to focus more on the company's future without the distraction of quarterly earnings reports or share price fluctuations. It's also known that he absolutely hates Wall Street shorts betting against the company, something that would also disappear if the company went private. However, Musk's announcement on Twitter could land him in hot water with the SEC, as it wishes to validate some of the statements he made about the privatization to ensure that they were factually correct. As you might expect, I made a more in-depth video on the news midweek, and I'll link to that in the show notes below. Monday night's big reveal of the 2019 Audi e-tron SUV, a car that's already begun production in Europe and should be hitting the roads in the next 6 to 10 months. Depending on where you live. Most of the reveal wasn't exactly a surprise, since Audi has been drip feeding us info for ages, but we did learn about 2 new cool things with this upcoming model. First, it will be the first production car to offer side view cameras rather than mirrors in markets where such things are allowed, and second, it'll charge at up to 150 kilowatts from a compatible CCS charging station. I've made a separate video on it, so click the link above my head if you want more info. And finally, Dubai is known for having a lot of money. It's also known for its love of fast cars, the various supercars and hypercars it has on its police fleet, and more recently, its eagerness to adopt new technology. Well, this week we learned that the Dubai police force now have new vehicles in the form of all-electric hover bikes, and they've been learning how to fly them to chase down the criminals. Based on these videos, however, I'm not sure they're going to catch anyone, given how slow these hover bikes appear compared to your average sports car. It's truly bonkers. I'm sorry. No, it's mad.
It's certifiable. And on that note, I'm going to say goodbye. I really hoped that you liked our special episode, and keep your eyes open for a few more in the coming days. And don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Tell your friends about the show. And if you've got some feedback, then send it our way. In the meantime, I will be back in the new year with more ecoTEC goodness. So do make sure that you hit that bell below, and then you'll get a notification the second a new episode pops up in your feed. And to start the new year, why not switch to New Zealand's only carbon zero certified renewable electricity company? Go on, ditch those emissions for 2019 and go fully carbon zero. Thanks for joining me. I'm Nikki Gordon-Bloomfield. Ka kite. See you next time.